Hurricane watches are in effect for the Yucatan Peninsula of Mexico and western Cuba. Good Monday evening, I'm Mike Nasa with the latest on the tropics. We are watching a developing tropical cyclone right there in the western Caribbean, forecast unfortunately to strengthen into a major hurricane and make landfall along the Florida Gulf Coast sometime later this very week. We also have a major hurricane, John, which is about to make landfall in Mexico on the eastern Pacific side. About 18 to 24 hours ago, John was a tropical storm, blew up throughout the day Monday into a Category 1, 2, now a Category 3 major hurricane, causing havoc there along the southern coastline of Mexico. We're going to talk about all these features here in this update, which should be a pretty detailed one. Here's the latest on our potential Tropical Cyclone 9. It is not yet a tropical cyclone. It doesn't have a well closed off low-level circulation at the surface. However, it's close. Because we need watches and warnings out, they are issuing advisories, and whatever center there is somewhere around 18.4 north, 82.4 west, and that puts it about 100 miles southwest of Grand Cayman Island and about 290 miles southeast of the western tip of Cuba. So right there, smack dab in the middle of the western Caribbean Sea. Winds of about 35 miles per hour, moving very slowly north-northwest at 6. Now, the forecast has it becoming a tropical storm on Tuesday, strengthening Wednesday, moving very close to the Yucatan Peninsula and western Cuba, and becoming a hurricane by Wednesday night as it enters the Gulf of Mexico. Then strengthening Thursday morning into a stronger Category 2 hurricane and making landfall Thursday evening as a Category 3 major hurricane in the Big Bend of Florida near Apalachee Bay. Now, it could be on the left edge of this cone, more towards, say, Destin. It could be on the right edge of this cone, more towards Tampa Bay. Right now, it appears that the models are in good agreement for the Big Bend area. So if you're in Panama City, Apalachicola, areas there near St. Mark's, Keaton Beach, that whole region here, really be on alert the next couple of days. And this could change through time because we don't have a definitive center yet. Nevertheless, because of it potentially becoming a hurricane as it's cruising near the Yucatan Channel, we have a hurricane watch in effect for the northeast tip of the Yucatan Peninsula from Tulum to Cabo Catoche, and then we have a hurricane watch for western Cuba, Pinar del Rio, that area there. We also have a tropical storm watch here for the Dry Tortugas and the Florida Keys. That's the lower Keys west of the 7 Mile Bridge, and then up the western coastline there of Florida, Flamingo to Bonita Beach. So again, there's a growing concern, to say nothing of the Cayman Islands there, under a tropical storm warning. So this system should kind of find its way northwest. But again, until we have a definitive center, what if the center forms over here? What if it forms over here? It's just unknown right now, but the general thinking is somewhere in this region where they are pinpointing it as of 11 p.m. Monday night. Now, we could see water rises over the next couple of days in areas of the Dry Tortugas, Florida Keys, and the west coast of Florida. We do have some storm surge advisories out. Listen to your local officials. But Bonita Beach down to Flamingo, 2 to 4 feet. So the Gulf of Mexico is going to get stirred up, and that's just the beginning with this system. Here's the satellite imagery, and again, whatever center there is would be somewhere in this general region, right in here. It is blowing up. It's blowing up, but I just don't see any well-defined low-level circulation yet. We have the aircraft that are going to be zigzagging around it tonight, trying to see and determine what kind of environment it has, and if that low-level center is closed off, because if it is, then it will be designated as a tropical depression, and once those winds reach 39, 40 miles an hour, it will get a name and become a tropical storm. There is some shear still impacting it from this upper level feature, this upper level low over the Yucatan, and that might have kind of slowed it a bit today. Nevertheless, like I said, it matters where it develops, because if the center develops under this blob that's blowing up tonight, then we have, a starting point. But if it develops further to the east, then it's a whole different deal. So we just have to wait and see. Here's the radar out of the Cayman Islands, and it is a rainy night out there, some rough weather. Obviously, you see the turning in there, but again, it's just not closed off yet, and once that happens, we will be the first to let you know. The computer models are in very good agreement that this thing's going to kind of just moved to the west-northwest, northwest, and then kind of tightly clustered there. Like I said, between Apalachicola and St. Mark's, this area in here, they're surprisingly clustered. The intensity models did back off a little bit today. Earlier on Monday, they were showing a Category 4, even a Category 5 hurricane. There's still some of them showing a very dangerous major hurricane. The Hurricane Center predicting that. But there's a bit of a difference between 120 miles an hour and 160 miles an hour. So we're seeing some of these models here peak as a Category 3 or 4. Still tremendous hurricane, a very, very devastating major hurricane. And we're just going to wait and see. Right now, the GFS ensembles, some of them are sliding a little further east. And like I said, what if the center does not develop here? What if it develops closer to Jamaica? Then you have to take this line and extend it further east. So remember, we had the same thing in 2022 with Hurricane Ian. Remember, Ian was supposed to go to the Panhandle? Where did it hit? Sanibel and Fort Myers. That is a very big difference. So if you're on the west coast of Florida, don't think, oh, this thing's going to go into Apalachicola. I'm down here in Captiva. I'm fine. You got to keep an eye on it because we don't even have it well developed yet. The European ensembles, same type of deal. That area there between Tampa and Destin. So really, as of right now, Monday night, the writing seems to be at least jotted down, if not written on the wall, for areas there near the Big Bend, Apalachicola, and that region of Florida. But again, we'll just have to wait and see. The good news, if there is good news about a major Category 3 hurricane slamming into Florida, is that this area is, for the year 2024, pretty desolate compared to other areas of the coastline. You've got, look at this, Wildlife Management Area, River State Park, Wildlife Management Area, Springs State Park, Bald Point State Park. These are very, very foresty, nature preserve type things. And while I don't want to wish a hurricane on anybody, if we have to have a gigantic monster major hurricane make landfall, Tampa and Miami and the beach there in Pensacola, Destin, Fort Walton Beach, this is kind of the lowest populated area. So that might be the only good news. The bad news is on the right side you'd have water rises, so even though it might be away from where the center of the hurricane would be, we could have high storm surge in more populated areas down the coast, and that's why you're starting to see that storm surge advisory go up from areas there from Bonita Beach all the way down to Flamingo, and that includes areas here near Naples and Bonita Springs. So again, everybody needs to be watching this very carefully. And remember, as it moves inland, that's when you get to Tallahassee. That's when you get to Thomasville, Albany, all the way back up towards Columbus and Atlanta. So as this storm moves very quickly, it'll be weakening, but that could spread dangerous conditions well inland, and that's going to be a threat with this storm. So the key messages, number one, this system is forecast to intensify and be near hurricane strength when it reaches the Northwest Caribbean Sea Tuesday night. And they are expecting tropical storm conditions over western Cuba and the Yucatan with hurricane conditions possible. Number two, the system is expected to intensify into a major hurricane before it approaches the northeast Gulf Coast on Thursday. While it is too soon to pinpoint the exact location and magnitudes of impact, there's potential there for life-threatening storm surge, damaging major hurricane force winds along the coastline of the Florida Panhandle and the West Coast. Hurricane watches are probably going to be issued for that area tomorrow morning. So if you see this update after midnight, early Tuesday, hurricane watches are coming, and everybody should have their hurricane plan in place. Finally, there will be heavy rain throughout the western Caribbean. That could cause considerable flooding, mudslides across western Cuba. That's going to spread into Florida and the southeast, southern Appalachians, Tennessee Valley, all the way through Friday. You could even have river flooding. So again, as this system bends back west, if you're in Arkansas, Tennessee, Missouri, you could get impacts from whatever's left over by that point in time. Taking a look at the satellite, there's our system in the Caribbean. Here's another system south of Mexico. This is a powerful major hurricane. This is Hurricane John. And as of 11 p.m. Eastern Time, John was at 16.3 north, 98.8 west, winds of 120 miles per hour. And a 120 mile per hour Category 3 major hurricane is a lot different than the tropical storm it was Monday morning. It's moving very slowly north at 8. We have hurricane warnings along the coast. The hurricane force winds only extend out 10 miles from the eye. So John is a very tightly coiled, tiny little thing. And the good news is that means it'll dissipate very quickly. By 6 p.m. CST tomorrow, this thing should be dissipated, but not before impacting areas there of Mexico. There's the satellite image. Look at this beautiful, violent little hurricane coiling up right there like a snake right along the Mexican coast, right on the coastline. And that is just a very, very nasty situation. I wish I had a radar image, but there's no radar out of that area of Mexico. They might have a couple, but they're never working, and the infrastructure is just ridiculous for the 21st century, but that's a whole different topic. Here's where John is, and if I zoom in, it's coming real close to a lot of areas here that are touristy areas. So you do have some resorts and all that, tourist attractions, and it looks like the eye wall is just going to rake this area of the coast. A very dangerous major hurricane hit. The key messages: number one, John is expected to be a major hurricane as it reaches the coast. Within that hurricane warning area in the next couple of hours, damaging hurricane force winds, life-threatening storm surge within that area, and secondly, because slow-moving Hurricane John is going to produce heavy rain, that could cause catastrophic, life-threatening flash flooding, and look at some of this 30 inches of rain or more right along the coast with that slow motion. So again, very, very dangerous with Hurricane John. There's the information in Spanish. I did want to touch on, I don't want this update to go too long for you, but it's a lot to talk about. We do have a 70% high chance of development with a tropical wave that is right over the area there near the Cape Verde Islands, the Cabo Verde Islands. They called them Cape Verde when I was a kid, but now they call them Cabo Verde. But nevertheless, looks like whatever you call it, it could be called a hurricane in the future as it moves west-northwest. Hopefully this one would turn out and we wouldn't have to deal with it, but it is something to watch. Right there, right over the islands, it does look like it's got a little bit of life to it. Another wave about to leave Africa as well, so it's still that time of year to watch these systems. But again, the main threat over the next couple of days as Hurricane John moves inland is a major hurricane on that side of Mexico. We are going to watch this system blossom into what we expect to be a major hurricane and take aim at the Gulf Coast of Florida. So again, anywhere from really Pensacola all the way down the coast, including the Keys with that water rise, you guys need to be ready for significant impacts. I'm Mike Nasa with this 11 p.m. Monday night, 11:30 by now, Monday night update on the tropics. Stay tuned for further information as this situation progresses.